once again, I'm, as a pretty good leader, I had a bunch of people, in my ear in terms of what the take should be. And, I'm not going to take 100% credit for it, but it's one that basically I can completely understand why this particular take was brought up. So here it is in a nutshell. I know it's one probably that is near and dear to your heart and one that might resonate with you. So thank Amanda for that. The future, and more importantly, the value of SOC reporting, okay, is being challenged from emerging technology and industry accepted platforms, right? We talk about what's really changing the industry. Now, I'm coming from, you know, um, a fairly technical background, but one for which I got my undergrad in IT back in the day, and then I went back to college for 2 years master's on accounting. So
Mm,
accounting and IT kind of merged
yeah.
together, right? So I am a CPA, but I consider myself a fairly technical one. Not everybody, obviously, not every CPA would have my background, but
Yeah.
it's clear there are certain things that are challenging the industry. Number one is the pace and advancement of technology. You know, and by the way, there's a lot of foundational principles with AI. I mean, I can go back to 2010 when with algorithmic trading, like trading activities were occurring programmatically. I mean, that predates us 15 years, but some of the challenges within the financial services industry would extend to some of the challenges that we're seeing within AI. But clearly the advancement of technology is substantially changing the way we need to view stock reports. The rapid increase in AI agent technology, basically, and particularly the reliance on AI agents to kind of do testing or perform controls. Like there's always a yin and a yang there, right? So that's changing. And by the way, I even today kind of resonated last week. I said basically, yeah, you have Base 44, and you have Lovable. You have all these platforms that are able to create applications on the fly, which are eventually going to change the way software companies, and particularly SaaS providers, are going to be able to compete. I've seen it. This 5 years from now, the SaaS industry is going to implode because people are going to be able to create applications on the fly and do exactly what they really want it to entail. The last thing, which I know also resonates in your heart, and this third little bullet point, the reliance by the auditor on automated test platforms, which, by the way, is changing substantially. Just because we have an automated test platform, I'm not going to bring up any one
Right.
platform, but you and
Hmm.
I can be simpatico about what we might think. Um, the industry is changing the way they view automated testing because in reality, it's a black box. You don't really know what it's doing underneath the covers. And even if the platform were to have a stock audit, that doesn't necessarily mean that every single customer is using that integration in the same fashion. So you have to, and we know humans are humans. We configure applications a lot different. Even if it's the same application with certain guide rails, it's going to be completely different. So we really have to adapt to the changes in technology. So that's my take. My take is we as auditors, we as security professionals, we as CPAs really have to have the mindset that we need to adapt to change. And change isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you started a startup during COVID. I started a startup during COVID because I recognized really that the change is within us. A change needs to happen. We need to adapt to it, or we're not going to be very relevant. So
Yeah.
all of these things I've always in my entire career that getting on this podcast for the first time or challenging myself to be in front of a hundred people and talk about a concept. These things are very important. And people that adapt to change are the ones that are going to be most successful. So that's
Yeah.
my initial thought process, and I'll let you roll. you know.
Yeah, no, that was great. I think a few things. I think on the SOC reporting and innovation that's going on, I think it's kind of been on this curve, right? Like where we saw like just a huge immediately like, oh, automated SOC tools, and everybody's using them. Then as people start looking into them a little bit more, and then it's like, all right, now these tools kind of have carved out a spot at the early part of the industry where, but if you kind of move upstream, there's a little bit of gray area. People can use those. And then to your point around AI in the space as well, and I think the SOC innovation with AI in the space, the reason why there's such a battle right now is because it's challenging business models. It's challenging our financial way that we're thinking about these things because now efficiency is expected. It's not when I was early in my career at Coalfire, like we used to talk about like, oh yeah, we're gonna, we would sell on, this process is why we're better, right? But now it's like the customers are coming to you expecting you to use these things. They're like, yeah, I expect you to use AI to do a better job, which means I probably don't want to pay that much more. I probably and then I think a lot of times people don't realize that every leader right now, every executive at every company, and I encourage anybody watching this, go ask your executives, their bosses, their board, or somebody is telling them to do more with less right now because they are hearing about AI. They're hearing
Yep.
about it from their buddies. So everybody's telling all of the leaders, you have to be able to do more. So whether you believe in AI or not, your leaders are being told and going to be evaluated on if they are getting more results with less cost. And that's just the reality of the world we live in. It's the same thing that happened, like you were saying years ago, same thing that happened with cloud. Everything became a cloud thing and you had to be cloud based and all of that. The last thing I'll say too is I think you mentioned a point that I think is so important that a lot of people don't realize about these tools like Lovable, like Cursor, like Windsurf, that it's really creating this world where right now these tools are heavily used by engineers. Myself, I use some of these tools a lot. It's accelerated my ability to write things and do things in Python and build some solutions. It's helped me actually do front end stuff, and I do not know how to code in front end at all. But now I can actually build some things that look pretty because of these tools. Where it's going to create these citizen developers. We're going to get these citizen developers to your point, and then I think the SaaS implosion that you're talking about, especially in our field, comes when a GRC engineer, GRC professional at an internal company can just spin up their enterprise version of Lovable or Windsurf or Cursor and build their own internal GRC platform that doesn't have access to the internet, that has all their data contained. And it's like, well, why would I spend 25, $30,000 on this tool when my people are building it internally and it's my data and it's real? And I think we're going to enter in this world. And I think to your point around kind of circling back to the take of CPAs need to adapt to change. I love your background too, John, because I actually, when I taught at the SANS Institute, my senior instructor that was kind of like my coach when I was an associate instructor there, he is a CPA. But he was a technical CPA. Same thing. He had his undergraduate degree, was in some kind of computer science or IT. Then he went and worked. Then he went and got his accounting degree, became a CPA. But he was super technical. And I used to always tell him, I'm like, Clay, you are a unicorn. You're not a normal person. So John, you are a unicorn. You're not a normal person. Like there's not a lot of you out there. But I think that ties back to your take of needing to change and not being scared of change because most CPAs, I think, are threatened by the innovation. They're threatened by it, like, oh, well, I have all of these things that make me valuable, but change, to me, the reason why I love GRC and I love this profession is because the relationships I get to build, the conversations I get to have. But the reason why I got frustrated and started my own company because I didn't get to build relationships. I was doing manual work in Excel spreadsheets all the time. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to live the rest of my life doing this. This cannot be how I'm going to make a living. So I think for CPAs that are like scared of change or folks in the GRC space that are scared of change, it's really adopting that engineering mindset of like change is inevitable and change is ultimately good. It's more information to allow me to do more of what I want to do. And I think for us in this field, the amount of AI that we can use to help us with testing, the amount of tools we can use to help collect data and then spit out a natural language summary, it only helps you have better relationships, better conversations, but it does require a little bit of a technical hurdle. None of this stuff is easy. Like you have to go learn some things, you have to go pick up some stuff, but learning to me is the fun part. But yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with the take. I think you're spot on, and it's the next 5 years to me are gonna be so interesting. Like where the profession is gonna be in 2030 is gonna be insane.
100%. I mean, listen, in my view, you use certain points in your life to either motivate you or create a sense of urgency, right? And obviously, COVID was a great opportunity to create a sense of urgency.
Yep.
We're in a time zone or time frame now that there's a sense of urgency, because there's a lot of concerns, a lot of fear associated with AI, right? It's going to replace jobs and all these various things, right? And to some degree, I don't think that we can not think that certain jobs are going to be replaced. Certain jobs are going to be aided and assisted through efficiencies, obviously, um, and that provides a great opportunity. But from our perspective, right, we recognize, particularly if you're in compliance or if you're in um, uh, security, privacy, this growth trajectory that we're experiencing is not going to come with no pain. It's going to be pain. That means there's going to be a cataclysmic event that's going to result in a significant security breach. Okay, that the use of this technology has a good and an evil, and
Yep.
it's in constant balance with one another. What you see in movies happens in reality. So things are going to have to, we have a growth trajectory that's going up. We have a risk component to which is not going the same trajectory, which means that it's this technology is going to have to be controlled. And the and there's, to your point, AJ, you had mentioned that yes, executive leadership and C levels want to see efficiency, but they don't want to see loss.
Right.
And so they got a balance between efficiency and risk. And it's so funny because if you take a look at all of the large customers that I interact with, they like AI, they expect you to use AI, but they don't necessarily want you to use their data to train your AI because
Right.
they consider that to be their intellectual property. So there is a great opportunity for us to navigate this space, to talk AI in a risk kind of way, understand that basically there should be some fear, uncertainty, and doubt with respect to this technology, and everyone needs to wear their risk management hat to prevent bad things from happening, which are absolutely inevitable. And
100%.
so, and it happens every 3 to 4 years when you have this trajectory, internet bubble, like we talked about financial markets in 2008, talk about COVID, talking about here, we're talking about the AI trajectory. You have to be there at the right time to be successful. And I think once again, I'm waiting for that cataclysmic event to happen so we recoil and rethink about how we use it, how we control it. You know, um, Mount Gox 2017 when Bitcoin went down the
Mhm.
chute. I'm just expecting the same thing with quantum computing and the ability to crack encryption that results in, the
Yep.
inflationary cryptocurrency to go back down to worth nothing, or an energy crisis that prevents miners from mining. Like all of these various events trigger some level of rationality.
Yeah, to your point, like all of the benefits that everybody's talking about with these tools, more ability to get more outcomes, more power, more possibilities, they're being used for bad reasons. Like there's a good side and a bad, like similar. I think about to when early in the cloud days when auto scaling became like, oh man, you can just based on demand, I can spin up new EC2 instances, and it's like, well, yeah, that means that bad actors can also auto scale as they're doing attacks, and now you have so it's to your point, there is that yin and yang that I think risk professionals today their biggest blind spot is just saying no to AI. Just say, no, 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 we're not doing anything. And it's fine. Like, block it first, but immediately go learn. Go get your hands dirty, figure this stuff out. Because to your point, somebody's using it in your organization. It's out there. Every SaaS vendor that you use is now branding themselves as an AI tool. Most of it's marketing BS, probably, right? It's not real. It's just like a bunch of if-then statements. It's not real AI. But at the end of the day, your people are probably like you said, there's an event that's coming. And when it comes, everybody's going to have questions. Hey, what are we doing? And how are we? All of these things. And you should be able to intelligently understand, how does an agent work? How do LLMs work? How do tools that we're using at our organization actually work, so that I can put my risk hat on and start to make sure that I'm applying the right principles to how we use these things. It's such a valid point, and I think people will usually some of these cyber attacks cause some anger in the comments. I think this one's going to be a lot of resonation that people are going to say like, yeah, this is spot on. This is what we need to do.
I know exactly how to approach this because I have a lot of respect for you and your book, and hopefully I'll have the
Yeah.
opportunity to meet you in the New York chapter SACA meeting. I pretty much know
Yeah.
everyone in the SACA membership, but clearly there's a lot of things we need to be concerned with, and you know, I'm heavily involved in the AI space, and I do SOC reports, and I'm trying, and we're revolutionizing or evolutionizing the way we do them, the way we partner with our customers, and having continuous input from you or professional folks like you would be great. But once again, it
Yeah.
would be a very interesting times we live in now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.